We're so glad you're joining us. We're going to talk about a topic that we get asked about a lot. And the topic is about having a marriage that feels like a roommate situation, right? And the challenge with that is that habits alone won't fix a roommate marriage, right? There's wonderful habits that we want everyone to implement. Things like a weekly check-in, or when we're talking to each other, make sure we're present and actively listening, or whether it's date night each week. I mean, there's so many wonderful habits that can help our marriage. The challenge is there's nothing wrong with those habits, but they're just incomplete.
Yeah, that's something we see quite often when couples have drifted apart and they say we feel like roommates and we don't know how to find our way back to each other.
And what we see happens is that for some of us that are tigers, when we get under stress, we get really loud. And for people that are turtles get really quiet when they're under stress. And it's so important to understand which one happens to us and why it happens. Because when we get loud, or if we go quiet in the moment when they're stressed, then the habits alone won't overcome that. We really need to get good at understanding why we get loud or why we get quiet when we get flooded, or when our spouse does something we don't like or agree with, or says something we don't like or agree with.
So like Russ said, some people fight when they're stressed.
Tigers.
And some people go quiet, turtles. And neither one is wrong. But if you don't understand the nervous system of your spouse, you'll continue to misread them.
Right. Yeah, and it looks and feels like we don't care for each other when we get loud or go quiet.
Right.
Right? In that moment, we feel like our spouse doesn't care for us.
Even though it's our survival mechanism in the moment, you're getting really anxious because the problem needs to be fixed immediately, and I'm going quiet because I need to be able to think and process what just happened.
Yeah, and our nervous system is trying to protect us.
Right.
Right? It is trying to protect us tigers. For us, safety feels like we got to take care of it right now. When there's tension, we got to get it resolved right now. Where for turtles, our nervous system tries to protect us by saying, no, withdraw, flee, danger, danger. The challenge is the nervous system in this scenario is a false protector. It's trying to protect both the tigers and the turtles, but it's a false protector. And we have to work through that, because we're not really in danger, when actually it will make it worse. If I continue to get loud as a tiger, it makes the situation worse, even though it's trying to protect me. As a turtle, if you shut down and go away, it's trying to protect you, but it's actually making the situation worse.
Right. And this would happen after I would come home after a hard day of travel, and I'd come in, I would be quiet, and Russ is like, okay, she looks like she has a scowl on her face. She's probably mad at me. So he ends up asking, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. I probably did with a tone. And he's like, clearly she isn't. And sometimes he was the problem for me, but I didn't know how to communicate. So I would just stay quiet and say, I'm fine.
Absolutely. And it's so important for us to understand our pattern, so that as a tiger, as we've talked about in previous episodes, as a tiger, as soon as I start to get flooded or I'm under stress, is to learn to pause before I get defensive or verbally aggressive. And then as a turtle, it's important to understand when you start to get flooded is to stay engaged. Right? It's not danger to stay engaged. And for me, there's no danger in pausing.
And you bring up a great point, because it wasn't until we started, what actually changed for us is because we started working with a counselor. And in that, the counselor felt like a mediator for us. And it taught me skills firsthand in the moment. And it taught me about the biology of the fight, flight, and freeze component. So it helped me to better understand myself, and therefore process the conflict, which meant I didn't have to be so scared of the conflict.
Right.
So I'm so grateful for that process, because these skills that we're sharing with you right now, we had somebody sitting in front of us coaching us, just like we want to be that for couples now.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we learned that have helped a lot when there's a hard conversation that has to happen and we're scared to have it either way is if our spouse comes to us and bring something hard to us. Ask them, hey, do you need me to help, or do you just need to be heard? Right? You just need me to listen to you, or do you want me to try to come up with a solution? And that was really big for us. And now we can flip it too. If one of us is going to bring a hard conversation, it actually helps to coach our spouse on what we need them to do, instead of for them waiting to ask what we need from them. Is to say, hey, I need to share something really hard, and just help me right now. If you could just let me get it all out and just kind of listen to me first. Or it'd be like, man, I could really use your help in trying to figure this out. I'm really struggling with something, and it's going to be hard what I'm about to say to you. But if you could just, remain calm and try to, offer up some help, because I can't figure this out.
You did that about a month ago when you asked me, because I can so quickly jump in and try to fix the situation. And you're like, I'm going to share something with you. And I don't want you to comment or say anything.
Right.
Please just listen. And I found myself wanting to comment. And I was so glad you had coached me on that, because it made me realize, and even more self-aware, how quickly I want to contribute. But there's also a third thing that we can add on that, and is, do you need help? Do you want to be heard, or do you need a hug?
And sometimes you need a hug, whether you want to be heard or helped. Right? A hug's always good.
Yes.
It gives us that oxytocin.
Yeah, exactly. Well, how you walk in the door really matters. And we learned this a long time ago with our counselor, is transitions. Even if you went out to the grocery store and you came back 10 minutes later, there's a transition, even though you're like, wait, I just left them for a few minutes. And what researcher Dr. John Gottman calls that are bids for connection. So how we come into the house and say hello, even if we had a bad day, what are we bringing in? And are we meeting with our spouse with immediate problems? Again, that first 5 minutes is really important. John Gottman says that couples who turn towards each other have a greater chance of staying together than those who don't.
Absolutely.
A fantastic clearinghouse in being able to stay connected is the weekly check-in. We talk about our logistics for the week. We talk about our hopes and dreams, which sounds excessive, but it's really powerful. And we talk about what frustrated us this week. And that can be the part where couples get really nervous to bring that up again. But again, we have a process to walk you through that. And then finally, the celebrations, because it's so easy to pick apart what went wrong that week, but it's really important to talk about what went right that week.
Yeah, and for the weekly check-in is incredible habits. And when we're talking about habits that can help with marriages that feel like they're in a roommate situation, a weekly check-in is one of the best, because when we're talking about our hopes and dreams, that really helps build an emotional connection. When we brag on each other, it builds an emotional connection. And then people are like, yeah, but I don't want to share my frustrations and hurts. That's not going to be any fun. But when we learn that's a way to proactively learn how to be emotionally safe and make sure our nervous system is regulated so that we can talk calmly. If we come prepared to have a hard conversation, that's a lot easier than doing it in the moment when we get triggered.
Yeah, and we have a 7-step process of walking you through the frustrations. And sometimes the wives will go, I just want my husband to speak from his heart. And I'm like, no, you don't. Follow the process. And the men love it because it is a 7-step process. And that way it's a controlled framework in how you move through it. And obviously, if you practice it a lot on the little things, when the big ones come up, you're prepared for it because you have several reps under your belt.
And a lot of people will say, I just don't really have the time to do a weekly check-in. And we're like, oh, come on. You've got the time. As a tiger, we have the time to pressure our spouse. And as a turtle, we have the time to distance ourselves from each other. So if we would take that energy that we're spending on, pressuring or distancing and put it on connecting with each other and investing in the weekly check-in, we can really improve that roommate feeling that's in a marriage. And it's back to building that emotional connection and that fondness and admiration of each other.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because those are the two top things that we hear. One, we're nervous to talk about our frustrations and we don't have time.
Right.
But ultimately, you will have time when things completely fall apart.
Right.
So again, it's be intentional is the name of the game. So once you know your patterns, your nervous system patterns, then these habits can stick. Are you a tiger or are you a turtle?
Tiger.
Turtle. Comment below and let us know which one you are. And if you're not sure, schedule a session with us, and there'll be a link in the description below. Thank you so much for joining us. And as we say, to have an extraordinary marriage, be intentional.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.